everyone, I'm Becky Mobley from PAS, and yeah, hopefully you're in the right place. We're here for a showcase on using Verna Mycelia, and we've got folk from Uttlesford, West Oxfordshire and Northumberland councils to talk to us about that. So just a little bit of to tell you what we're doing today. So we are doing this is just the introductions and housekeeping, which is what I'm doing now. And then we've got showcases, as I said, around looking at BNG validation, assessment and securing habitats. And then Rafi from Verna is going to give a bit of an overview of the Mycelia tool. And then we've got plenty of time for questions. So we have, we're using Slido for questions. And you should be able to access that by clicking at the top of your team screen. There is a little button with an S on it, and that should work. Also, Zane has shared the link in the chat as well, so you should be able to access that there. If you have any trouble with that, then let us know and we can add another link, but hopefully everyone can access that. So that's the place to put your questions. Obviously the chat is open as well, so we quite often get a bit of chat going on and people sort of replying to stuff, so you can use that. I'm just going to start off the session actually with a poll in Slido just to check everything's working okay. This is something that we've been asking a little bit. We asked it, so I was involved in Biodiversity Net Gain pre-mandatory, and we were asking this question then, or this set of questions, and we're just really interested in tracking that really. You may have had this asked of you at another one of our events recently, but it's just really interesting to see how things are going over time and where perhaps you're finding things a bit more tricky. It really helps us in terms of the PAS project and making sure we support you. Okay, so I'll leave that running in the background. I think, yeah, in terms of housekeeping, as I said, with questions, we'll bring folk, we'll sort of be asking those because we've got a lot of people on the call. We'll be asking those. I'll sort of be chairing those rather than bringing people in. But yeah, as I said, do feel free to use the chat. Okay, so just to say what our aims are for today, so we're running obviously various sessions around BNG and local authorities sharing their experience and some good practice around implementation. So this is one of those sessions. And also can demonstrate how digital tools like Mycelia can help at various stages of the BNG process. And then Rafi's also going to share with you some information from a study that Verna have done around how LPAs are getting on. Okay, so today, just to introduce folk, we've got Anne Howes here from Uttlesford District Council, and we've got Eliza Horn from West Oxfordshire, David Fage from Northumberland, and Melanie Dodd also from West Oxfordshire. And Rafi is here, who is the co-CEO of Verna. So that's who's going to be talking to you today. So I think without further ado, I will hand over to Anne. Welcome, Anne, and thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you. So I'm Anne Howes and I'm the Performance and Business Manager at Uttlesford District Council, and I manage the validation team. And I'm here to talk about what BNG and Mycelia has meant for us. Next slide, please. When the validation team started to talk about BNG and the metric, and it does seem like a lifetime ago, our thoughts were around how are we going to learn this and what sort of delays will this cause in the validation process. So our validation team process approximately 3,000 applications a year, of which 99% are validated within 5 working days. And that includes all the consultations, advertising, site notices, etc. And we were really concerned that having to check the metric manually would significantly slow the process down. Any delays, obviously, in getting the cases to the officers has a ripple effect, putting pressures on professional officers who already have a lot of work and very tight deadlines. But then we met with Verna and learnt about Mycelia and how it can help make sure that the validation process of the metric is robust and we were so impressed that we became an early adopter. Next slide, please. From the outset, the team realised that the drag and drop function was a real game changer, and then began to appreciate just what Mycelia does, and this has made that made their smiles even bigger. So the obvious concerns were metrics could be tampered with, and how could we spot that? National requirements could be changed, and how would we keep up to date? And of course, we've got our own local validation requirements, and making sure that these were being met as well. Next slide, please. So checking for tampering, earlier this year, Natural England confirmed the existence of a non-statutory biodiversity metric circulating alongside the official one. This non-legal tool had raised concerns within the sector, particularly due to reports such as those shared by Jason Reeves, head of policy at I never know how to say that, sorry, highlighting that some versions may include hidden tabs or embedded macros that are not immediately visible to users. So these features can compromise transparency and the integrity of biodiversity calculations. But Mycelia is specifically designed to automatically audit submitted metric tools. It performs a comprehensive check to identify use of non-statutory altered versions of the metric, presence of hidden sheets, macros, or structured inconsistencies, any deviations from the official statutory tool. If any issues are detected, Mycelia clearly flags them and provides a pre-formatted explanation. This allows the team to efficiently copy the reason into the invalid submission letter issued to the applicant or agent, ensuring a consistent and transparent process. This approach not only safeguards the integrity of our assessment, but also reinforces our commitment to upholding statutory requirements and best practice in biodiversity net gain delivery. Next slide, please. So Mycelia, so checking against the national list, Mycelia confirms that all the required information, as outlined in the national validation checklist relating to the metric, has been submitted with the application. There are minimum submission requirements, and if these requirements change, Mycelia would promptly be updated to reflect the latest standards. Mycelia clearly identifies the errors and indicates where in the metric the error can be found. So in this instance, can't really probably see it, but Mycelia has identified an invalid on-site habitat creation entry where the area is recorded as 0.0 hectares, a value that doesn't meet the statutory criteria. So then Mycelia provides a clear, actionable explanation, enabling the team to include precise details in the validation letter. This ensures that agents are informed of the exact issue and whereabouts it is, saving time and reducing back and forth communication. Next slide, please. Mycelia is set up to perform automatic checks against the typical local requirements because we all have different ones. And so when it runs through, it highlights the typical errors, and our validation team can then review those against our local validation checklist, and where necessary, invalidate the application and inform the applicant or agent exactly what the error is. Basically, if errors are found, Mycelia flags them in plain English, making it easy for the team to understand the error and communicate it quickly to the applicant or agent with a simple copy or paste. Next slide, please. At Ottlesford, we work hard to make the validation process as streamlined as possible so that there are no unnecessary delays in getting the applications to officers. And with Mycelia, we have 100% confidence that all the metrics validated are in line with statutory requirements. This allows our validation team to perform the necessary BNG checks with a rigour that would otherwise be impossible. It saves a huge amount of time up front and crucially protects the time of our specialist officers down the line. We've now been using Mycelia for 18 months-ish, and our validation speeds did not slow down because of the new BNG process. They remain around 98–99% validated and with planning officers within 5 working days. By catching issues early, we ensure that only valid, complete BNG applications enter the system. Clear single-page feedback reduces back and forth with applicants, minimises delays, and allows the entire planning team to work more effectively. Next slide, please. We found that we have maintained the speed of our validation process while ensuring its rigour and traceability relating to BNG. Mycelia has helped us manage workloads more effectively and has prevented costly delays and stress later in the planning process by ensuring only robust applications are passed on to case officers. Our initial validation concerns around BNG have been alleviated as soon as we introduced Mycelia. Thank you. And now I'm going to hand over to Eliza Horn from West Oxfordshire.
Hello, thank you. I'm Eliza Horn. I work at West Oxfordshire as an assistant ecologist in their team. On a daily basis, I'm reviewing and looking at the BNG information that's coming in as part of planning applications. Next slide, please. So we have found that it's really important to effectively assess the BNG information submitted as part of an application to identify the risks and errors early and draw accurate conclusions based on this. It's challenging due to the amount of complex technical information that BNG involves. We found that understanding the BNG proposals of a development from the metric and other BNG documents alone can be difficult and time-consuming, particularly when they're complex cases. The metrics submitted are often daunting for our non-ecologist colleagues due to the technical information it contains and the way it is presented. Next slide, please. One of our main challenges is the fact that it's a very time-consuming process to go through and manually review a metric. There are a number of factors that need to be considered and then cross-checked with other information that's submitted as part of an application. Again, a simple small site with private garden pre and post development, or that has used the small sites metric, might be comparatively less complex from an ecological perspective, but due to the information contained within the metric and the way it's presented, it's difficult for non-ecologists to engage with, especially when the tools and support is not available, which we don't always have the time for. Our non-ecologist colleagues often find that they come to us for advice when dealing with BNG applications. The overall process of understanding and assessing a development's BNG proposals can be difficult given the number of considerations and dense ecological information. This can lead to issues and risks being missed easily as part of the initial assessment, and that can cause delays further down the line when they're identified at a later stage of the application or even at discharge of condition stage. Our aim is to identify issues quickly at an early stage of the process so that they can be dealt with at an appropriate stage and quickly. And we're using Mycelia to help us with this. Next slide, please. So one of the key parts of Mycelia is that it's able to identify key risks that are within the metric. So Mycelia has a page that you can click on and it brings all of these up. And it makes us aware of the issues before we've even taken a look at the metric itself. It tells us where we might find the issues and where to be looking when we're reviewing the detailed information, helping to focus our efforts on areas where the issues might be and ensuring that they're not missed. This slide shows a screenshot of that section of Mycelia, and you can see that it has flagged up that the habitats recorded might be of a lower distinctiveness than what actually exists on the site. It also flags up other baseline issues, such as when a large portion of the habitats are recorded in poor condition at baseline. So when baseline errors are flagged up, I'd usually be looking to review the survey methods, timings, and condition assessment sheets to ensure that the supporting information for the baseline has been robust and completed in accurate times and suitable conditions. I may also be looking at aerial images and any supporting photographs that's been submitted as part of an application to make sure that they're consistent and that there's been no significant changes. We also occasionally see things like the creation and enhancement of traditional orchard or good condition habitats that have a high difficulty level. And this is also picked up by Mycelia's risk tool. When such habitats are proposed, we're considering whether they're achievable and realistic within the context of the development, and if the proposals can be successfully delivered. It helps us to know when additional information, such as outline management principles, might be needed to give us additional certainty that the development can deliver these habitats and not fall short of delivering BNG in the future. Other risks that might be associated with that Mycelia can pick up is that there might be no habitat area recorded, or that the development footprint is missing. This would suggest that maybe the post-development habitats recorded in the metric are not accurate, and I might need to go and review the metric or post-development habitats and cross-reference this with any habitat plans or other information submitted. Overall, all of these risks are picked up from a single window in Mycelia without having to review the metric manually, saving us time during the assessment process. Next slide, please. So our next stage of reviewing a metric would be that I would go through and look at the individual sets of data within it, which is obviously, again, time consuming and quite daunting from the way it's presented in a spreadsheet. So we find the flow diagram within Mycelia is particularly helpful as it presents the information in a visual way that's easy to interpret. We're able to follow a habitat from baseline to post-intervention as it's either lost, retained, or enhanced, with information presented in an accessible way on a single page, making it clear and easy to understand. For complex sites, you can then filter the habitats based on type, condition, or distinctiveness. And this allows you to form conclusions of the overall proposal to start off with, but then focus down on habitats that might need greater consideration, such as those with greater difficulty or distinctiveness. The information on each tile makes it clear to follow when an enhancement is being done for a change in habitat type or condition, without having to tap through different tabs in the metric. So overall, the information is presented in an easy, clear, accessible way that's quick to interpret. Next slide, please. The metric obviously contains a lot of information that isn't visible on those first two slides, but when you click on through to the individual tiles within the flow diagram, you're able to see all of that information. Within this section, Mycelia also flags up where a specific error has occurred in relation to that habitat type. So in this case, it's that poor, target condition is not allowed. So this might be for other habitats when there's a specific change in condition that cannot be achieved. It gives a detailed explanation of the error, which helps us to understand what the metric error is when it's not otherwise obvious. I would also use this page to check for other details that are contained within the metric, such as the strategic significance of the habitats, or any user comments that have been left, which might provide information on the number of trees that make up a parcel, or details that are otherwise contained, such as when notes are left about previous habitat impacts. It's really useful to have all of the information in a single program that is easy to navigate, read, and interpret, and also provides us with an additional checking mechanism to ensure that we're accurately interpreting the results. Next slide, please. So our next step is to help our planning officers to understand and engage with the BNG assessment process more, to reduce delays and help focus our time on more complex cases. So our principal ecologist has already begun delivering BNG training sessions to planning officers with the eventual aim that they'll start to assess small sites using Mycelia themselves. The training will gradually build up a picture of each step of the BNG assessment process, and the initial training sessions and validation exemption have already been delivered. And now we're looking to move on to the individual aspects of information that are provided as part of a submission. To support this process, we'll be using the Mycelia support pages and explanatory articles, along with reference resources we'll be creating ourselves. This will include the process flows, so that officers are able to be supported through the process of reviewing a BNG application without us there. And frequently asked question sheets will be easy reference documents based on topics that come up in the when we review metrics, or that come up commonly in the training sessions. Once we have delivered the training sessions and the ecologists are reviewing the metrics on their own, we will be running weekly drop-in sessions for all their BNG questions. It will be a specific time when we'll be available for our paneling officers to come, ask questions, discuss cases, or just attend and listen and continue learning. Next slide, please. So overall, we found that Mycelia makes it quicker and easier for us to respond to ecological BNG cases, and we are equipped with tools and additional resources to help us interpret the metrics efficiently and accurately, especially from the way that it presents the information and makes it easy for us to draw conclusions from that. The system allows us to be confident that we are identifying any risks and errors associated with the BNG proposals at the initial stage of the assessment process, so they don't cause delays further down the line. And then when we're assessing the BNG information, we're doing it effectively, so that we're ensuring that the site assessments are robust and that the proposals are likely to be delivered, allowing for good outcomes for nature in West Oxfordshire. So I believe handing over to David now at Northumberland.
Thank you. Yes, David Feiger. I'm Environment and Design Team Manager and County Ecologist at Northumberland County Council. So I manage a small team of natural environment specialists, including 4 ecologists who work primarily on planning matters. Next slide, please. So I think, as many of you are experiencing, there really is a special type of torture in trying to extract precise and often complex information from really chunky and unwieldy spreadsheets. And with biodiversity net gain, you have to do that repeatedly at different stages in the process. And you've been hearing about some of those stages from Anne and from Eliza. And of course, typically officers are dealing with several at the same time, day in, day out, week in, week out. And I think it has a serious risk of being deeply demoralizing to officers. So, yeah, we were definitely an early adopter of Mycelia for that reason. And I'll be talking through one particular feature that one of my team identified as being a useful addition to the process and suggested to Verna. Next slide, please. So, from all the massive information that you typically get with a BNG application, one stage that's really important is to be able to identify which of potentially many aspects of enhancements are the significant ones that you really need to keep an eye on, and make sure that you're securing. And you then need to be able to translate that information into a form that your legal team will understand in order to be able to take forward into the Section 106 agreement. And that was certainly a challenge for us in the early days, where we came across quite a lot, was my team wasn't necessarily putting the information into the instruction to the legal team in a consistent way between us all, and in the way that was sufficiently precise and clear for the lawyers to take forward. Next slide, please. So this feature that Verna were really happy to take forward and to develop enables us to focus on the more important habitats. So if you're wanting to see precisely what that means, on the Mycelia support page on the Verna website, you can see a bit of information about how this tool works. But essentially, things like on-site enhancements, where the resulting habitat's going to be a medium or higher distinctiveness, or habitat creation, where it's going to be medium or higher distinctiveness. This part of the tool just extracts all that information and highlights it in a form that makes it really easy to drop it into an instruction to the legal team. So we make sure that we are identifying all the key habitats that need to be included in the Section 106 agreement. Next slide, please. So, as you can see, with quite often with cases, this isn't just one or two habitats. It's quite extensive, and it's really been a massive help for us in presenting this information in a consistent way, and also just in having a bit of reassurance that we're not missing things that are important. Next slide, please. So that's the sort of legal instruction stage of things. But then when you're moving from the planning determination process on to monitoring, what the tool does is to identify those habitats again as being the ones that should be monitored. But this is an aspect of it that you can manually alter yourself. So if there's habitats it hasn't picked up for monitoring that you think should be monitored, then you can manually add them in. So it's a really helpful guide, but it doesn't constrain you. You can amend it. Next slide, please. So, yeah, the benefits of this aspect of the tool, we feel, are being able to give these clear, consistent instructions to legal far more quickly than would be possible just doing it manually. So that's freeing up our time. It's increasing our confidence that we're getting things right. It's reducing legal risks that obviously arises if we get things wrong. And it's going to help us enormously with the monitoring process as well. So I think that's the last slide, and I'll be handing over to Rafi.
Thanks, David, and thank you for all the examples that you've all shared so far. Just let's go to the next slide. What I'd like to do is just we've seen a couple of examples of what Mycelia does in a few specific areas. I just wanted to share a brief overview, a very brief overview of the breadth of Mycelia. So on the next slide, it will have some key information. So I think the first thing to share, just to make sure everybody's aware, is that Mycelia helps LPAs with every aspect of the BNG process, all the way actually from pre-app to validation and assessment, and then to monitoring and reporting as well. And it's with really great thanks to many of the names on this call that I recognise who have worked with us over the past 2+ years, really. We've done a lot of collaborative research involving initially ecologists at more than 40 LPAs before building anything. We're now working with many more than that, and so feedback from really well over 100 ecologists and planners has been fed into the tool. And it does 4 things. The first thing it does is it supports across teams and at every stage of BNG. So by across teams, I mean it's already being used by validation officers, ecologists, planning officers, monitoring enforcement officers as well, and colleagues inside the LPA and also external advisors. And by every stage of BNG, all the way from pre-app to validation, assessment, DM, monitoring, reporting as well. It helps you fulfill your statutory duty with significantly less resources. That's powered by automatic manual data entry, streamlined processes across every stage of the process, and a whole range of automated checks as well. Thirdly, it helps you catch and manage risks. That's obviously absolutely key, to identify issues as early as possible so it doesn't create delays, complexity and issues later on down the line. That's powered by a bunch of work that we've done with basically the world leading team in Oxford over the last number of years. We've got a director of ecology with decades of ecological experience. She's fed in her experience the learnings. And now as well, we have a number of years working with a broad range of people across the community to make sure that Mycelia will catch any risks that are within the ecological information that's been submitted. Once risks have been caught, Mycelia will then help you to manage them as well, to help take away a lot of the stress from the process and make the whole process a lot quicker and more streamlined. And ultimately, what it's all about is to drive better environmental outcomes. Initially, it's a local level for your local area, and hopefully that's happening already across the country. Because now we're working with, in many regions of the country, all the local authorities, the impact is happening regionally, and increasingly because now we're working with a lot of LPAs across the country at a national level as well. And that also includes our work with engaging with Natural England and DEFRA and sessions, hopefully like today's with PAS, helping drive better environmental outcomes really across the country. So popping over to the next slide, I think, really a big thank you to all the LPAs that we've worked with over the past number of years. We're continually grateful for your feedback, which helps us to keep refining Mycelia, so that it's as helpful as possible, really, for people working in LPAs across the country. Just wanted to let everyone know that we've got 2 events coming up that might be of interest to people on the call. The first is sharing the preliminary findings of the National Biodiversity Net Gain Benchmarking Survey that we've performed with a number of partners over the past number of months. I think firstly to say thank you to everybody who's filled that in. I appreciate work was involved and you're all very busy. We've brought all that together, done the data analysis, and hopefully generated some helpful and interesting findings that will have tangible beneficial impacts on LPAs across the country. We've shared a couple of teasers there. I won't go through them, but if you go to the handout, which is in the chat now, you'll see the link for signing up to that. Similarly, there's also a link there for signing up to one of our next demos. We do demos every couple of weeks, share with people the latest of Mycelia and an overview of the highlights of what Mycelia can do to help you across the full course of the BNG journey, all the way from pre-app, validation, assessment, monitoring and reporting, so over 30 years. So if you look at the handout that we've just put in the chat, you'll be able to see the sign-up links for those. You can sign up just as soon as you want to. I'll just say and take the opportunity to say thank you again for everyone for joining today, and also thank you to our brilliant speakers, Anne, Eliza and David. With that, I'll pass back to Becky for closing messages.
Yeah, so as I've said already, if you can fill out the feedback poll, is what I'm trying to say, to help us evaluate how useful our support is. Our next event is, we've got a network drop-in session next week. So that's a chance to just raise current issues, discuss them with folk on the network. That's at 10:30 on the 24th. And all our events are on Basecamp, so you can access those through the schedule. And that provides a link to the Teams meeting. So yes, thank you very much, particularly to Anne, Eliza and David, and also to Rafi and for Jake for organising in the background. We will be sharing the recording and slides from this on Basecamp later. And yeah, thanks to everyone for all your questions and listening in, and I will see you all soon. Have a good rest of the afternoon.